Right, well, here we are in the Crossfire, and you know, there's a reason, I guess. I've just cleaned the outside of this car, and it's amazing. Every time you have a car, you clean it, you find all little imperfections and stone chips, bits of rust, marks, tar stuck to it, all the little things that annoy you. But I've just cleaned this car and it hasn't got a mark on it. I mean, literally, it doesn't have doesn't seem to have a stone chip. It doesn't have any rust now. Well, it didn't really before, but it had a little bit of bubbling on one of the wheel arches, which was put right. I'm amazed, but also I've had a look underneath when I was cleaning the exhaust pipe, as you do, and the underneath of this car is amazing. I'll show you. But look at this. This 11-year-old car has still got some tape around that. I don't know whether that's how they come when they're new. But look at this exhaust pipe here. Look how clean that underneath is. Even this heat shield is all clean. The exhaust box here is like new. Well, obviously, probably is new. If you look at the suspension, and it's worth looking at the engine again. I mean, look at this engine bay. Look. This is an 11-year-old car that's done just under 50,000 miles. I mean, it's low mileage, but it is mileage. I mean, 50,000 miles. It's driven somewhere. Now, this has not been cleaned by me, and it's not the fact even that it's so clean, it's just that there's no corrosion. All the hoses and clips and everything just seem so good. I wish I knew the history of this car, because it seems to me that somebody really cherished it, and I don't think it was driven much in the bad weather. I just can't believe it, and I don't think it was out and about all the time, kept outside. I think it was garaged. Really lovely. I mean, really pleased. And when you think this car was £36,000 when it was new. Door needs a bit of oiling, a bit creaky. And the interior, I mean, this is susceptible to scratches, this silver finish. I don't think it's very durable, but there's no scratches on this, especially here when you're, because when you're driving, I mean, you've got to be careful. Your your watch or something scratches it when you're changing gear and everything. It's the only wear is a little bit there, but on the driver's side in that place, and I'm going to try and overcome that by replacing this piece of leather, that one bit, with well, I'm going to have a look at this silver leather that I've bought. Hasn't arrived yet, but I'll see what it looks like. But I mean, whatever I fill it, replace it with, it can be replaced again. I mean, I might be able to get almost identical leather that's on here now. But I thought putting a sort of silver accent there might look nice, might look a bit garish, but it might just lift it a bit, because it's a bit drab, all this black. I'm not really keen on it myself. So I put that bit of chrome there. That made that look a bit better. But the other, the other interesting thing about this is everything in this car here in the front, behind it, is the same as my green Mercedes. The stalk here is exactly the same, and the cruise control, that's all the same. And the light switch and everything here, all the mechanism and the key, everything here is exactly the same. It's even got the same door mirror controller. That's exactly the same as the one that's in my Mercedes, green one. But the interesting thing is, though this is exactly the same, they're the same shape and everything, they don't feel quite as good. There's something a little bit plasticky about these compared to my green W124 Mercedes. It's exactly the same shape, it works the same, but these just feel flimsier. Not actually that flimsy, but they don't have the same solidness about them. That's really interesting. And same with this switch. It's exactly the same light switch as my green. Works exactly the same, but it doesn't click with the same vault-like, that it's going to last forever. Interesting, even though this was made in Germany, but I just feel that the plastic is not quite such a good quality. So there we are. But generally I'm really pleased. It's strange that one of the things that this car hasn't got, not that it matters, but is a light here for the mirror. Neither side. I mean, most cars have a light. Either it comes on when you would slide this across, or like in even my Avantime, it's got a button here for each side. When you think that this car's got so many luxury features, but it just that was quite a strange omission, really, I thought. Anyway, generally speaking, I'm very pleased with this car, and certainly for what I paid for it. Amazing. I paid less than £5,000 for it. So, little fly. He's better get out of here. Oops, good. You get trapped. Those hoverflies are everywhere at the moment. So, a car that was £36,000 and is virtually as new, I bought it for less than £5,000. It's criminal, really, isn't it? It's got the same feel for me that a car I had back in the 70s. I had the first generation of the Toyota Celica. Very rare car now, you don't see them now. But I had, that particular model, I had an ST first, and then the GT, which was the twin cam. I also had the next generation Celica, which was the one that looked like the Mustang. And there again I had two models of that one. I had started off with an ST, and then I bought a GT. I actually traveled to Spain in the GT. So I had four Celicas, and they were a similar type of car. Had the same feel about it, I think, a really pure design. And I think it's the same about this one. And though it looks like the Mercedes, well, it's Mercedes, and it looks like the Mercedes was based on, I think this is an improvement over the Mercedes design. Big improvement. And the design features of that ridge that goes down the middle and is reflected on the inside of the car, in the dash and in the headlining. The little creases in the bonnet, the little vents at the side, this back, the way they've done the back here is, I think, quite inspirational, really. It's there are very few weak points in the design, and there's many cars have got good things in the design in other areas where it doesn't look quite so right from a different angle, but I think this car's just about nailed it for a design. I don't understand why it got such a bad press, to be honest with you. So there's only a couple of things that I've got to get sorted now that I've just been out for driving it, actually, and one is that this exhaust system, which I suspect is fairly new, if you go over a deep bump, it bangs on the, well, I'm sure that's what it is, it thumps on the underneath of the floor, so it's a bit too close, I guess. The other thing is there's an annoying sort of squeaky noise inside. It sounds like it's the seat mounting, but I'm not sure. So these are two things which I'm going to have to try and find out where they're coming from, the noise, and try to correct them. It's good to have a car that you're happy with and it's mostly sorted. But I'm so pleased with the bodywork on that car now. It just looks really good. But I'm going to have a look at my other similar car, my Mercedes. You see, here we are. I shall start this up and put the vents down to the side. I hope they're not buffeting this side. Whoops, there you go. You sit in this car and you just get amazed by how solid it feels. So these controls here were exactly the same as the Crossfire. But as I said, these feel so much more solid. Actually, the stock here is a little bit slimmer. So that's exactly the same. The light switch is exactly the same as the Crossfire. It's got the height controller. No difference at all. The key. So, this car is 25 years old. Just amazing. Now, this car has not been garaged. Well, certainly not been garaged for the 20 years that I've had it. Because I've had it 20 years. So it was only 5 years old when I bought it. And it had been in the south of France most of its life, which is why it was left-hand drive. So it's a left-hand drive, but it was to British spec. The lights were British spec. And everything, I don't know how they worked it, but it was a British spec with left-hand drive. because the guy that bought it was English, but he had a house in the south of France. He used this car down there, and so it's, whether it was garage down there or not, I guess it probably was, but it's been sitting out in the sun and all weathers, and this dash just looks like new. Everything is, I mean, it's only failing is this windscreen, which is laminating, but it hasn't got any worse. I don't think. I'm pretty certain it hasn't got any worse in the last couple of years. So I'm hoping that maybe that's how it'll stay. That'll be all right. Just seems ridiculous to have that window taken out, that screen, and putting a new one in. I always feel that they're never the same when they put them back. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, it's a lovely car. The sunroof works really well, and that little flap comes up automatically. Goes down, yep, and then the only bit, it gets a bit stuck. That does work though, the tilt bit. Oh, yeah, okay. It's like a new toy. Yeah, and there's the door mirror controls, and they're exactly the same as the ones in the Crossfire. So you turn it to the left for the left mirror, and then you maneuver it about, and then you turn it to the right for the right mirror. So that is exactly the same. And you've got the controls for the windows here. Well, set of circumstances. I had a notification through that the tax was up at the end of this month for this car, and obviously to renew it. And then I looked at my list of MOTs for cars and realised that the MOT had run out. So I booked it in to have the MOT done this morning. And last night I rushed out and moved the car ready to take it over to the garage because other things are happening today, and I wanted the car to be able to get out because there's lorries coming with concrete. And I did something that I'd never, can't even recall ever doing again before, and that was that I must have left the ignition partly on, because when I got up this morning, this battery was flat. Then I discovered that actually it has an MOT. It was MOT last month when I had it serviced. I had it done early, a month early, while it was in the garage. So it hasn't got to go for an MOT, and I then had to jumpstart the Avantime, so it's now running to charge that battery up. Oh, I'm glad I discovered that it didn't need an MOT. I'd have gone down to the MOT station for nothing. But it's been running now for about a quarter of an hour, and it's a good test again of the matrix. And the matrix appears to be absolutely dry, so there's no moisture or anything. So that's a good test, but I'll have to turn that off in a minute.
So we're all good now, yeah?
Well, yeah, the car seems to be alright, and I've driven it a little bit, and I've had it running for a bit, and there's no leaks at all. So So we're kind of reckoning. I booked it in for France, so it's going to France.
And you're off to Cornwall?
I'm off to Cornwall tomorrow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Till Monday, that's all.
Yeah. What are you doing down there?
Oh, just visiting some friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah. But he said there was also a bleed on the radiator as well, a second bleed.
Alright.
And maybe that's another reason, perhaps, why it went wrong.
Oh, never ever seen nothing like that before.
Well, hang on. If you put if you were to put a power supply into a speaker, it would burn it out, will it? Or do nothing? I would have
Oh
thought.
yeah, but how can you? Well, I can't see. Nothing else for the plug into, is there? You know, plug for any. Oh, better plug for the light.
Hmm?
It's got the same plug.
Oh, you mean it's the power one then?
That's for the light.
Oh.
Fancy that having the same plug.
Yeah, stupid, isn't it?
Where's the speaker one gone then?
So what would it do? Burn the speaker out?
Yeah.
So the speaker won't work then?
It might not, but
No.
well, I guess that was connected. Where's that? You got a little film, haven't you?
Eh? Oh, we'll have to edit all that out. God, blimey.
God. Where?
Do you know, is this car jinxed or something? Well, how many leads you got? You seem to have a lot of leads, Ho.
Oh, this is your sat nav,
Oh, that's a sat nav, right? Yeah.
and then you got this one.
It's a light.
There's must be the light. There's nothing else.
Is there a light in that thing?
Yeah.
Oh, that must
Oh
be.
yeah, yeah. There is a yeah.
Oh, it's got to be the
Yeah,
light then, isn't
yeah.
it? It's got to be the light.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
we plug it.
So where does the speaker turn up, mate? Oh, well, it can't be. Well, it won't work now, will it? Just as well as no lead. It's not. Would it be incorporated? Would it be built into the?
There it is.
Oh, you got it.
Tucked around the back of that.
Oh, right. Oh, so we can test
Exactly
it
the
anyway.
same plug. I've
Look
never,
at that. Yeah.
I've never seen that before.
Yeah. That's French for you. Yeah.
Why would they do a different colour then?
Yeah. The radio's been working, so it sounded all right before. That was without that speaker, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Could always replace it, I suppose.
Yeah. Light works.
Yeah, oh, good.
Light works only when you turn the volume up.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Put your radio on.
Put the radio on. Oh, yeah, hang on. Good thing. Hang on. I think I need to put power on. Hang on.
You seen Nick at all?
Yeah, hang on. It's not working, is it? It all seems easy when you know what you're doing. I'll give them their due. They got it in and it doesn't leak.
Yeah.
Well, it'll get a good test going to France.
Yeah.
1,200-mile trip. Is it working? Is it working?
What? Car?
Yeah.
What do you mean, is it working?
Is it? Yeah.
Is what working?
Sat nav.
Oh, it lights up on the screen.
Oh, that's working, isn't it?
Yeah, the writing comes up.
Do you know, it's most funny that was. Tom went and, when he tried it, he put a destination in. Anyway, when I come back, I put it into English, the language, but every time it goes to sat nav, it's in French. I can't get it to work in English.
So did that come out with French?
No. Well, it's a French car. I don't know.
No, I mean...
Well, I don't know. Don't know. It obviously does different languages.
Yeah.
And I set it for English, but
But
it
won't...
sat nav was in French.
install.
I haven't fiddled around with it much because it wasn't installed.
No. Take 2CV down at Cornwall.
Yeah, tell Caroline. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I thought you'd go your new Volvo down there.
We are.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
Oh, you're not going in this down to Cornwall?
No.
Right.
Sorry, no.
Oh, I thought you meant you was going in this.
No. I'm going this in France.
Oh, yeah.
No, I would have gone in this, but Caroline wants to take her car.
Yeah,
right. It's in French.
Yeah.
Well, then there's got to be something to do with the disk drive. That's odd. No, that is odd, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm a bit struck on that one.
Yeah. Well, that's a blow. Well, we don't understand it. We've got the original disc, and I've got the new one, and we can't get them to work in English, even though we change it to English. It comes up in French, but I don't understand it, because a disc drive...
Don't you speak French?
Eh?
Don't you speak French?
Well, Caroline does, but that's not the point.
You've got a house in France and you don't speak French?
No, I don't speak French.
Oh, God.
No, but what I don't understand is that's only a disk drive, isn't it? But it must be more than that, because it's feeding it. Because it worked, don't forget, it made it work without...
Yeah.
So it's only in French. We can't get it to work in English. You bought a whole job lot from France.
So you got... once you've set it up to English, it will stay in English till you switch off, does it? Or...
No, we can't get it to go in English.
Oh, I see.
It's got the languages, you push it to change the language to English, but when you do the sat-nav, it's still... I'll tell you what comes up in English. The only thing that comes up in English are the settings, like for the volume and things like that, and the brightness of the light and that sort of stuff. That's in English. But as soon as you use the sat-nav navigation, it's all in French. But of course that will mean probably that the directions will be in French, and a French woman will be telling you...
Right, there is a configuration on here, which does have another language thing, but I can't read the instructions to tell me where to go from where I push it.
Ah, that'll be the main one.
So I probably need a Caroline on that
Yeah,
one.
she's out at the moment.
Typical.
Well, can you, when she comes back, can you grab her, explain to her what you wanted to do?
Yeah.
Will it stay? Hang on,
No,
have you got to turn it off because you're going to have a flat battery?
Yeah. But I know how to get to it.
That got low battery on the screen on
Eh?
Volvo, so I've left it running. That
Low
said
battery?
Low battery
Oh.
on the Volvo.
I wonder why that is. Probably been sitting around.
Don't use it, do you?
Yeah. See, you've got rid of that then, that thingy, warning light.
No, it wasn't a light on, was it?
On the dash had the... It wasn't
No,
like...
it was writing.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah,
Yeah, it's in writing.
Oh, right,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
all gone.
Yeah.
Oh, great. Because it wouldn't pass MOT, would it, with that? Right, well, Andy's done that, and everything seems to be working. The only thing is that this is in French, and we've now discovered that there is two menus. So there's a deep menu that we can change the sat-nav into English, but it's all in French at the moment. So we're just waiting for my wife to come home because she actually speaks French. So she's going to help get us to the language changer and get it into English. So hopefully that will be all right, and then we'll have sat-nav working and everything else working. So I'm really pleased with that. That's working over there. Yep, that's all right. Look, that works well. Yeah, actually, that adjusts the heating all right. So once we get this done, I'll get it out and drive it around a bit, just to make sure that everything is okay before I go to France in it in a few weeks. So I'm pleased about that. Very good. But it needs a clean now, so I'm going to get something to clean all this light coloured. There's dirty marks everywhere where everyone's been working on it. That sort of annoys me. To see it there, I don't mean that they made the marks. Anyway, I'll clean it up and the car will be, hopefully, back to its normal, perfect condition. Right, well here we are in the Avantime, and I'm pleased to have this car back, and in all in one piece by the look of it. Everything seems to be going well, apart from the speaker, which we well, Andy burned out by fitting the power connector to it. Glad he did it, not me. But the radio sounds okay. Yeah, let's have a look.
This Wednesday evening at 6, we'll have another 2 hours of top tunes and features.
Right, there we go. Let's
Artist
turn that down. That's the radio. I mean, it seems to be all right. 'Cause at the moment, obviously, there's a lot of speakers in this car, so sound you wouldn't really notice it. But the speaker in the passenger well is not working. So I will have a look around and get a replacement for that. But still, getting the car back, and now I'm hoping that it'll have a good journey to France, and the run will do it good. Everything else is working on it. Right. Now we'll just enjoy the journey, I think. Right, well, we've broken down. See?
Oh yeah. Oh crikey.
That's the trouble.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I wondered why the battery. I thought the battery. I didn't even think about that the other day.
No.
I thought it just been sitting and it was dead.
That sort of.
Then I couldn't figure out why that side door was open, locked. Of course, it locked itself when the power went off.
Yeah.
It's done it again.
Yeah.
But when I started it just now, I managed to get it started, but it was like clicking like mad.
Yeah.
So it must be.
Start them right away and get them the pump.
Uptight, but it's not catching. It's not far enough down.
It's good to have a friend with a spanner, isn't it?
Yeah. You might not be a friend when you've done the job.
Exactly. Yeah. Now all the windows will be out of sequence again. Oh, no.
What I think they've done, because this side's lower than that side, I think that plastic case should be that side, so they couldn't push it down easily. Is that in the way?
Basically, they haven't put it back properly. Do I complain? No. No point, is there?
When you take it in next time, you want to say, well, I want a discount on this. You
Yeah.
back me about last time.
Yeah.
And I was just going into London, and this happened.
Well, I'm going to France in a couple of weeks.
Oh, well, no, I think that's a bit different. I don't know whether I'll accept that.
Mind you, the guy I'm going with to France is a mechanic, so
Bought a hammer.
yeah.
Lucky I bought a hammer.
And it's funny that when I was coming up here, I was just thinking how well it was going. It sounds lovely, the engine. It's quiet as anything. Mind you, it's quieter when it doesn't go.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
when you went to start, there was no noise at all.
That's right,
so,
yeah.
You know.
You reckon that'll work, eh?
I hope so.
Hope so. So do I. So do I. Oh, it's quiet, isn't it? Ah, wonderful. Do you want ice cream?
Yeah, please.
Least I can do. Hang on, I'll turn this off then.
Yes, there's ice cream in the car.
Right, well, oh dear. Right, so what happened there was that when I went out to start the car, it was just completely dead. The other day when it went dead before, I thought the battery had gone flat. And also, suddenly the passenger door was locked for some reason. Now I realise why. The garage, when they put the battery back in, they hadn't put it back in properly. The terminal, it wasn't set down properly, and the terminal was tight, but not properly on. It was loose, so that was the problem. Anyway, so Tom came out with some tools, and we managed to tighten it, reseat the fitting, the connection, and it's fine now. I don't know what to expect next with this car. All of this started off with the sat-nav going wrong. And what we started off to was fixing the sat-nav. It ended up with so many problems. Right, well, I've cleaned the dash a bit. Looks a lot nicer now. And the only problem we've got is the satellite navigation. It works, but it seems that I don't understand it. Maybe somebody can explain it to me, but the disk drive that I bought, it works, but it only seems to work in French or German. The disk that I put in is an English disk, and I used it in the original disk drive, and it worked perfectly in English. Anyway, now when I've got it in the disk drive, it tells me in French to put another disk in if I want another language other than German or French. That disk is already in. I've tried taking it out, putting it in, taking it out, putting a different one in, putting the original one in that I had, which was a 2001, again an English one, and none of them work. It seems that the disk drive only works in French or German. I don't understand how that is, but I can't do anything about it. We can change the settings into English. I've done that, and that means you can change the sort of colour of the font and all this sort of thing, and the brightness, and that tells you how to do it in English. But when you get into the satellite navigation side of it, it's only in French, and of course it means that the directions will be in French as well. And not that it's particularly difficult maybe to understand, but I just don't know, so I'm going to leave it at the moment. Other than that, everything else seems to be working at the moment, now that the battery is tightened down properly. So I'm going to give this a good clean the next few days, ready for France. But the dash looks better for a clean. It's quite smart now. You'd never think that dash had been taken apart. The door works where I put the new clip in. Well, a lot is happening here with the project. Footings, walls being knocked down, some being built, but more importantly, I guess, lots and lots of dust, and the dust is on every car that I have. But my wife's car is clean. But what's important today really is that the Dodge here is going to be doing a wedding. Now, I gave it a clean yesterday, and in the hope that there wouldn't be much dust overnight, and certainly that's been the case. Now look at this. See? I don't know where that comes from. So we're going to have a final tidy up now, and we're going to put ribbons on it. Now I've cleaned the inside, and we're ready for the car to go to the wedding. Here, this is interesting. Suddenly, this bits of broken glass. It's laminated, of course, so that it's held together. But there's some broken glass there. That window. Now, that's happened before. It must be something to do with the way this window is fixed on the rail when it winds down, because I think we're going to have to take this panel off and have a really good think about this window before I replace the glass, because I've replaced the glass I think twice, and each time it's eventually broken. Got to be a reason for that. Anyway, I've got some ribbon here. Now, I went to buy some white ribbon, and in a well-known company that sells this stuff, and this was the only one they had left. They had actually sold out of white ribbon, so that should be enough though for doing something. And I've got some blue ribbon, which should look nice on the car with it, so we'll do something with that now. Looks nice, the car. Lovely, and it's hopefully running nice. The differential leak has been fixed. Should be lovely for a wedding. It's done a couple of weddings, this car. The biggest one was a big one in London. It went to about 5 or 6 years ago. This one is only about 10 miles away. Right, well, we've got a few ribbons on here. Right, so that looks a bit better. So we've got, that's all the white ribbon actually, that bit and a couple of ends, that was all that was on that roll. Certainly wasn't a lot, and that's the only roll they had. And that was a shop that deals with that sort of stuff. But I think that little bit of blue, dark blue there, that looks alright. So, I hope that doesn't come off when the car's driving. No, that can't come off. That looks okay, I think. Now I'll give it another bit of a clean, I think, just to get some of the last bits of dust off it and everything. Well, it's funny how the car looks nicer than normal. It's because normally it's sitting in a dusty situation. Now it's been cleaned up and it's got a couple of ribbons on it, makes it look all fun, I suppose. Dressed up and ready to go out. That looks okay. Looks okay. I oiled all the hinges last night and the door latches. Everything closes nice and nothing squeaks. Right. All right, well, have a good day.
Yes. Not over.
Hey?
Break stuff.
You're terrible, you are. I only use first and second. That's the first and third. Sorry, second and third in that. I never use first. Okay. Right, well, I've cleaned the Avantime. The Volvo's really dusty though, look. It's filthy. the Avantime has been cleaned, and I filled it up with fuel. And actually I cleaned the roof as well, because the roof is all glass, and clean it with window cleaner, glass cleaner. So I went out in this today, and when I come back, what I did was I hoovered out, vacuumed out the little grooves here when the sunroof goes back. I cleaned all those grooves out. They're full of dust and dirt and everything. Anyway, I cleaned those out, and then I lubricated the rail lines where they are running. I'm not certain if that's going to lubricate, but I figured that some of the lubrication that I put in it would go back into the mechanism at the back. Seems to be quite quiet actually. The noise that you get more is the windows that are going down, and they're really, the noise is them rubbing against the rubbers, the glass against the rubbers on the doors, but the actual roof is quite quiet. Oh, it's hot in here. So if you push the middle one, oh hang on, radio. If you push the middle one once, that side I think, all the windows come down and the roof opens up. But if you push this one once, that side, that's it. The roof goes back. Got it working now, right? Okay, so push it again. No, that side. Okay. Oh, I'll get it right in a minute. That's it. Right, let's try it again. Ah, so it's that way. That side to open, and the other side, no, to hold it a bit. I'll get this right in a minute. Now I know that this one works the blinds. So that way, and then that way, and then this is that. Yeah, see that noise is just the glass against the rubber. See the wind's the top screen. This I haven't sorted out yet. This air deflector. Can't get it to work now, that's it. I've got to sort out the pad. I've had a number of people tell me about putting a bigger pad up here that opens it. I just haven't. I tried something and it didn't work, and I've got to do that. That's something I'll do when I've got a moment. So you push that, and you have to hold it. Yeah, the windows are very noisy. Right, now that I've played with that for a bit, they're fine. I'll shut that. Right. Okay, this car is nice and clean. I'm really pleased with that dash actually. I cleaned all this up because it got quite grubby with all the amount we took it off and put it back on again. I've got no, I hate saying these things, I've got no leaks here at the moment from the heater matrix, and you know, I'm pleased that that's all come up nice and clean. So this car is good, and it's hopefully ready to go to France in a couple of weeks. And the Dodge is going to Cromer next weekend. That'll be exciting. Well, I've been out in the Crossfire as well today, and it's a good car to go out on a hot day because the air conditioning on this works really well now. You know, I got that new condenser, but it's really quite cold. And it's a small cabin, so it cools down very quickly. Let's put it on. Actually, the trouble is that the air will, in fact, it's really cold, but it will make the buffeting on this camera. So, what I've done with this car is to get my friend Carl's the mechanic who spent many years working on my cars. Let's open the windows here. He spent many years working on my cars, mainly my old American cars, when I had a lot of American cars. And the only reason I haven't been using him or having cars with him lately is he's a bit far away from me. But anyway, he's going to take the Crossfire next week and service it. I've discovered what the creaking noise is. Carl thought it might be something to do with suspension, but it's a lot simpler than that. What it is this. It's actually the this seatbelt retainer rubbing against the seat. Now I'll show you. If I sit in the seat and I move around, nothing happens. You don't hear any noise. But if I put the seatbelt on, right, I've got the seatbelt on, and if I move around, it creaks all the time. What it is this retainer here rubbing against the seat. If I hold it away, nothing happens. So I'm driving along and the car's creaking all the time. I couldn't figure it out. And Carl thought maybe it could be something to do with part of the suspension. But anyway, that problem's resolved. There is, however, a bang on the suspension. Well, it's not the suspension, sorry, on the floor of this car. When the exhaust system hits the bottom of the floor, that only happens now and again when I go over a really bad bump. So I'm going to get Carl to have a look at that when he gets it up on a ramp. But then basically what he's going to do is just service the car because it hasn't been serviced since I've had it. And you know, I'm just not sure if it was really serviced before I bought it. So that'll resolve that little worry in my mind. But other than that, the car's great. Went out in it today. It's fine. It's not as fast as I guess that was certainly not as fast as the one I was going to buy, which was the AMG version, the ST6 or SR6, whatever it is. But it's fast enough for me because I'm not really a great fan on sports cars. This is a nice car though. I do like it. Cozy little car, and it drives really nice. So we'll see what happens after it's had a service. But my Mercedes is still doing well. A proper Mercedes here, with the same controls as the Crossfire. Buffeting. The aircon is working well, but it's not as cold. Oops, that's the radio. The aircon is not as cold as the Crossfire, but at least it's working. Needs some fuel. Right, well, I haven't been filming much for the last few weeks because things have been so busy here. We're living virtually in a building site at the moment, and I'm hoping it's going to move forward rapidly in a couple of weeks when I've got another builder on the stream, because the last builder went bust and it didn't work out, even though I was going to keep him on. Anyway, I'm in the Dodge because shortly I'm going to head off to the coast for an overnight stay with the Classic Car Club that I'm involved with. So a group of us are going to spend the weekend in a country hotel. So we'll see what cars are there, and we'll see how the Dodge gets on. This Dodge actually did a wedding last weekend, and it went very well apparently. So, I filmed it with the ribbons and everything on it, but I didn't go to the wedding, so a friend of mine took it. But apparently it was really good, and the car went faultlessly, thank God. I hope it does this weekend. So I've just given it a bit of a clean up this morning, and shortly we'll be setting off for a couple of hour drive. A couple of hours, I think, to where we're going, so it's probably about 100 miles or so, I'm guessing, maybe a bit more. Anyway, we'll see what happens, but as soon as I get back, I'm off on another road trip. Yeah, and this road trip is going to involve the Avantime, because I'm going to drive it down to my house in France. So this is in a couple of days, as soon as I get back from the weekend, look on the coast in the Dodge. So a friend of mine and me are going. Now my friend is a car mechanic. What he was, actually. He doesn't do it at the moment. I think he got fed up with fixing cars, but he's a bloody good mechanic. And he's worked on a lot of cars of mine in the past, so he doesn't live near me. He was a Citroen expert, actually. He worked for Citroen for many, many years. Anyway, so I feel a little bit happier that I got him with me, but the car is seemingly going well at the moment. I've had it out a bit, and yeah, everything seems to be alright on it. So hopefully this will be a good trip. So we'll see what happens. Mercedes there has been out a few times. It's got itself cleaned a bit by the rain. We had rain last night for the first time in weeks, and it's washed all the dust off it, so it looks better. But I was going to go out in my Citroen the other day, and the 2CV, and it won't start. Well, it wouldn't start. I think that was due possibly to this problem where it won't start when it's hot, and it was really hot, but that sounds stupid. I think I'll try it now. Right, well, the temperature yesterday was about 35 centigrade, so it was really hot, and this car refused to start. I didn't labor it too much because I didn't want to run the battery flat, but I'll try it again now that it's much cooler today. Let's see what happens. Well, I think that test has made the point. It does not want to start. It definitely does not want to start. So I think that's probably a good thing, because I was having this problem where now and again I'd go out in it, stop somewhere at a shop or something, and then come out and it wouldn't start again for a while. And I thought that maybe one of the things was the coil. But the fact that it won't start means that there is something wrong. So when I get back, I'll have a word with my friend, actually, because he's a Citroen expert, and see whether he can come up with some ideas. And I think we'll change the coil and a few things. Check the spark plug, all the obvious things, obviously. But obviously there is a reason, so I suppose it's better now that it is not starting. I'll be able to sort out what it is. It's not petrol, I know that. Petrol in it. Anyway, that's the 2CV.
So I went on a Tuesday.
Right, so you weren't filling skips and stuff when you moved?
Right, so it rained last night. Right, well, the Dodge is running at the moment. It's just come back from a long trip to the coast. It's done really well. No problems. The wipers were working okay because it was raining, and the car handled well, and it was remarkably good on fuel. Didn't use as much fuel as I actually thought. It's quite economical. In fact, I'm convinced, I haven't really done a sort of accurate test, but I'm convinced this Dodge uses less fuel than the Mercedes of mine. If there is a difference, it won't be very much either way, but it's about the same. But I would say errs on the side that this Dodge is more economical. So I'm going to put it away, take the Crossfire out, put the Dodge back, and then I'm going to start getting the Avantime ready, because tomorrow morning I'm going to take the Avantime to France. So it's all happening with these cars now. Right, well, the Avantime went really well. We took the back seats out, actually, because we had so much stuff. Because I've got a problem here in the house and we had no water, so I brought 100 litres of water with me from England, believe it or not, and so we took the back seats out to get more stuff in and make more room. Well, actually, not the actual, the little squabs that come forward here to make more room. I'm just going to see if the van is going. About 6 weeks ago, so it should be all right. God, hot. That's good, isn't it? It starts instantly. Good little van, good little van. Right, we'll be out of that in a bit. Right, well, all this has come out of, well, not today, but it's 2 loads, but it's come out of the little van. So 25 at a time is what it can carry, and shopping is quite good, but it's going to have a service. It's quite a weight, actually. So it's 50 slabs in two lots. We've taken the protection underneath, and we're going to change the oil. So we'll see how that looks in a bit. Right, well, we've done a fair bit of work in the last week here in France, and now we're just going to go take the Avantime out, see if we can find somewhere to have a drink. It's going back to England tomorrow, so we'll have a little drive in France. It's got dusty here. Right. Right, so this is quite good with the top open, the windows open, and you get very little buffeting, which is a good thing but a bad thing, because when it's so hot like it is now, you want some cool air, and there's very little air coming into the car from the roof or from the side windows. It's quite strange, really. The air conditioning is lukewarm. Struggling, I think it is. Right. Well, it was a busy time in France, and the Avantime went really well. Had no problems with it at all. The air conditioning went well. That worked good, actually. The whole car, the fuel consumption was reasonable. I wouldn't say it was fantastic, but it was seemed to be slightly better than the last time we went to France. It took a lot of weight in it going down there, and that all worked out well as well. Now, all in all, I was really pleased with it. It was a good car. Didn't feel tired in it. You know, we did a 450-mile drive in 8 hours. That's once with only one break, and it didn't feel tired at all. Got out quite fresh, actually. Yeah, I would certainly not have any criticism of it. Got quite a bit of attention in France from various people. You know, the French knew what the car was, and a lot of guys were sort of staring at it and looking at it as we were going down the motorway. Especially when we were driving around the towns, actually, and we had all the windows down and the roof open, of course, and it makes it look a bit more impressive. And in the supermarket car parks. So all in all, a good trip. But my friend noticed one thing, which was really pissed me off. Right, so he's sitting in here and he's notices that all this down here is rusty. It's all coming away, look. That section there is, look, it's all rusty. And so I decided, oh my God, have a look at the other side. So let's have a look at the other side. And it's exactly the same, but possibly even worse. So that area there is all rusty. So that's not very good, and of course that's got attached to it this plastic skin. So, and a very complicated door. So I assumed, or I did assume, that this was a common problem. I mean, I've got it on both doors, so I'm thinking, well, this is common to this particular car. So I spoke to the guy I bought it off, this guy who's an expert on the Avantime, and he says he's got about 4 cars there, and none of them have got this problem. But there is a chance of buying a couple of doors, and in the same colour, and they don't have rust. So I got a feeling that's what I'm going to do, because I think the problem with trying to get that repaired is possibly more costly than having a new door. But I'm not certain. I'll find out. So that's one of the next issues with this car, I think, is that rust on the door. But the Crossfire, that's going fine. That's going really well. Tires holding up. Yeah, that's really nice. No issues with that at the moment. Except I asked my wife to move it yesterday, and she moved it over here and drove down into these footings that we've just laid here. And of course I was concerned that the front of that car was going to smash against the ridge there. Fortunately it didn't, but I was a bit concerned for a minute. Ah, nice car, isn't it? But I also got my Amy out yesterday, and I was giving that a bit of a wash, because everything here is so dusty, and every car is just covered in dust now. But I washed that off, and it's looking a lot better. Now, the 2CV, it wouldn't start, and my friend who worked on 2CVs for many years when he worked for Citroën, he reckoned that there was a problem with a lot of them that he had with the same issue of not starting, and that the tappets were closing up for some reason. He didn't know why, but he'd find that the tappets had closed. So he'd open the tappets up and the car was fine. Now I don't know if this is a problem that is what this car's got, but I think maybe that's a route I might have to investigate. But in fact, I think what I'll do is I'll try starting it now, see what happens. Okay, so it was about 2 weeks ago, a very hot day, that I tried starting this and it wouldn't start. So now it's a much cooler day. There, look, you can see the dust on the bonnet there. So it's a much cooler day today, and we'll try starting it. Choke is full out. Well, it's got a quarter of a tank. I mean, it's got fuel in it. That is not a car that I think is going to start. Well, it started, but I don't think it's a very practical experience. I think having to start it like that all the time isn't going to be good, because from what I understand, the World 2CV Rally next year is being held in Croatia, and my wife and me decided that we went to the one in Poland in 2016, I think that was, and now we've decided that it would be great to go to Croatia in this car, but I think it would be better if it started. And also this problem when you I go out now and then you stop and then it won't start again. Not very helpful when you're maybe on the tunnel train and the car won't start. So I think that's something we're going to have to sort out. I really got to get somebody who's going to put some time into this car that knows 2CVs. Because I get so many reports from different people about some peculiarity or other that affects this car that could be the problem. And I've had all the other people say, oh, it's the coil, then it's the tappets, or I don't know. But we'll see. Okay.